Before you scroll, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a billionaire and a homeless girl in the same rainy street and wondered, what if their worlds collided? Nope. This isn't a Nollywood plot twist or a TikTok prank. This is a real story that might just make you laugh, cry, and text your ex by the end. So, ready? Buckle up, grab your popcorn, and let's jump in. This is the story of a homeless girl and a billionaire. One was little and cold. The other had everything money could buy. But one rainy evening in Anagu, their lives crossed path in a way no one expected. Their love story will make you cry. If you're just tuning into this channel for the first time, please subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It means a lot to us. Pause and think. What would you do if you saw a little girl all alone in the rain? Would you stop? Would you keep driving? Type your honest answer below before you read on. Kamar stood there in the rain, her thin dress soaking wet. She had no shoes, no jacket, no one. She walked slowly down the road, cold, hungry, and alone. She found a wooden bench and curled under it, shaking. "Mama, if you're in heaven," she whispered, "please don't forget me." And as the rain poured harder, the little girl closed her eyes and prayed for the first time in her life that someone would come. Someone who wouldn't throw her away. A black Range Rover came slowly down the road. The headlights cut through the darkness. Inside the car sat Jason Obedic, a 30-year-old billionaire from a royal family in Lagos, and was returning to the city with his fiance, who sat beside him, scrolling through her phone. "It's too late to be driving," Kioma complained. "Can't we sleep in a hotel?" Jason didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on something by the roadside. "Stop the car," he said to the driver. Jason opened the door and stepped out, walking into the rain. "Jason!" Kioma shouted. "What are you doing?" Jason didn't answer. He moved closer to the bench and saw her, a little girl, soaked, shaking, with her tiny legs tucked under her body. "Hey, little one," he said gently. Kamar opened her eyes slowly. "Please don't beat me," she whispered. "I didn't take the bread." Jason's heart broke. "No one will beat you," he said. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. Then he picked her up in his arms. "She's freezing," he muttered. "Let's go." Imagine you're Jason, billionaire, standing in the rain. Would you pick her up or would you drive away? Don't lie. Let us know in the comments, because this is where the story starts to change. What? Jason, are you mad? Kioma shouted. "That girl is dirty and sick. Let the police handle it." "She's a child, Kioma," he snapped. "If I leave her here, she'll die." Kioma folded her arms and hissed. Jason climbed into the car, holding Kamar close. She rested her head on his chest and sighed like she hadn't breathed in years. That night, the rain continued to fall. But for the first time in Kamar's life, someone had stopped. Someone had chosen to carry her. Jason's mansion in Inugu was quiet when they arrived. It was nearly midnight, and the rain still whispered outside. "Mama Nena!" Jason called as he carried. "Come on." Inside, his longtime housekeeper came rushing down the stairs, tying her wrapper. "Sir Jason, what happened?" she asked, shocked to see the soaked girl in his arms. "Bring hot water, towels, clean clothes, please," he said, walking toward the guest room. Mama Nena returned quickly with warm water and a soft wrapper. "Who is she?" "Sir, she's someone I couldn't leave behind," Jason said. After a warm bath and a bowl of hot rice, Kamar lay quietly in the soft bed. Her eyes moved around the big room. She had never seen such clean white sheets before, or smelled such nice soap. Jason sat by her bed. "Are you comfortable?" he asked softly. Kamora nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. Thank you. You can call me Jason," he said. She hesitated. Can I? Can I call you Uncle Jay?" Jason smiled. "You can call me anything you want." She gave the smallest smile, the first smile he had ever seen on her face. Downstairs, Kioma was pacing angrily. "You're really keeping that child here," she shouted when Jason came down. "Jason, this is madness. She's a child, Kioma. You saw her." "She had no one," Jason said calmly, pouring himself a glass of water. "She's not your responsibility." Kilma yelled. She's dirty, poor, and we don't know where she came from. Jason looked her in the eye. Then maybe you don't know me either. Kilma stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Back upstairs, Jason returned to Kamar's bedside. She was already asleep, her small hand resting on the pillow beside her. Jason sat quietly, watching her breathe. For reasons he couldn't explain, his heart felt peaceful, like he had just found something he didn't even know he was missing. Days passed. Kamar started to smile more. She wore new clothes and ate 3 times a day. Jason took her to the hospital. The doctor said she was underfed but strong. She just needs love and rest. The doctor said she blossomed. Jason stayed close to her. He read to her, bought her toys, walked her around the garden. The more he watched her laugh, the more something deep grew in his heart. A strange, quiet joy. But Kilma watched from afar and burned with jealousy. She has changed him, Kilma said bitterly. To her friend over the phone. He treats that orphan like gold. It's disgusting. Asterisk. Is it really disgusting to love someone as your own, even if they're not your blood? Drop a. If you believe love can change anyone. Asterisk. Kilma's heart turned dark. One night, while Jason was out, she visited the mansion uninvited. Mama Nena tried to stop her, but Ki pushed past. Kamara, she called with a fake smile. Come with me. I want to buy you ice cream. Kamar looked unsure. But Uncle Jay isn't home. It's okay. He's a fiance. I'll bring you back soon. Kilma lied. Kamar, still trusting and innocent, followed. Kilma led her to a waiting car and told the driver, take her to that place in Ensu. Drop her there and don't come back. But before they left the compound, Mama Nena ran out shouting, stop that car! Jason's other security guard blocked the gate just in time. Jason's voice roared over the phone. Bring her back now. When Jason rushed home and saw Kamar trembling in Mama Nena's arms, his eyes filled with fury. Kioma, you tried to kidnap her? He asked breathless. Why? She's destroying everything. She's not your daughter? Kioma screamed. No, she's not, Jason said coldly. But she's the one person who's never lied to me. He pointed to the door. Get out of my house, Kioma, and don't come back. Kioma froze, then turned and left in shame. Later that night, Jason sat by Kamar's bed. She looked at him, her eyes red. Are you angry with me? She asked. Jason shook his head. Never. I'm just glad. You're safe. He held her hand gently, quietly, but his heart held her even tighter. Something had changed in him forever. Years passed, and the little girl Jason once found in the rain began to bloom like a flower in sunlight. By the time Kamara turned 16, she was no longer the scared child who hid under benches. She was tall, graceful, and soft-spoken. Her skin glowed like morning light and her heart remained pure. Jason sent her to the best private school in Lagos. He hired tutors and made sure she never lacked anything. But more than money, he gave her presents. He attended her school plays. He helped with her assignments. He was her safe place. Uncle Jay, how do I look? She asked one evening before a school dinner. Turning around in her modest green gown, Jason looked up from the chair and paused. His heart did something strange again. You look grown, he said, then smiled.
Very beautiful.
Kimmer blushed. Thank you. But inside, Jason felt something he had long tried to bury. His feelings were no longer fatherly. He was drawn to her. Not just her beauty, but her spirit, her kindness, the way she smiled with her eyes. He hated himself for thinking that way. She's still a child, he thought. I raised her. This isn't right. He started avoiding long conversations, kept his hugs short, and spent more time in his office. Kamara noticed. Uncle Jay, are you tired of me? She asked one night, standing at the door of his study. Jason looked up quickly. What? No, Kamara. Why would you think that? You don't talk to me like before. He stood up, walked over, and touched her shoulder gently. You're becoming a woman now, he said softly. I want to respect that. Asterisk, Kamar nodded, but her heart was confused. She didn't fully understand it, but she knew something between them had changed. And so, as she grew older, so did the silence between them, heavy with feelings that neither of them could yet speak. Kamara turned 19, and with each passing day, she looked more like a queen carved by the gods. Her voice had matured, her confidence grew, and her presence carried grace. Quiet, but powerful. Jason noticed everything. He watched how she now walked like she belonged, how her smile warmed any room she entered. But he also watched from a distance because his feelings had now grown into something deeper, something dangerous. Then came David, a young, charming man who worked at a tech company Jason once invested in. He first met Kamar at a charity event. The way he looked at her made Jason's stomach twist. Asterisk. 2 days later, David came to the house with flowers. "Good afternoon, sir," he greeted Jason politely. Jason nodded stiffly. "Good afternoon. I came to see Kamar, if that's all right." Jason forced a smile. "She's in the garden." Kamar welcomed David warmly. They laughed, talked, and played cards under the trees. Jason watched from the upstairs window, trying not to care, but failing miserably. He couldn't sleep that night. At dinner, Mama Nena noticed his silence. "Sir, you don't look well." "I'm fine," Jason said without looking up. She stared at him knowingly. "Are you truly fine or just hiding from what your heart is shouting?" Jason sighed. "She's still a child, Mama." "No, sir. She's a woman now, and if you delay, someone else will see what you see." The next afternoon, David returned again. This time, he brought books. He helped Kamar with a project and told her she was smart and beautiful. She giggled. Something Jason hadn't seen her do in weeks. That night, Jason stood by his bedroom window, staring at the moon. He whispered to himself, "Why does it hurt like this?" He had given her everything, protected her, raised her, but now someone else was winning her heart, and he was too afraid to say the truth, that he loved her deeply, dangerously, and silently. Jason sat in his office the next morning, staring at the same document for over 30 minutes. His pen had stopped moving. His mind wasn't there. All he could see was Kamara laughing with David, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at him in weeks. He dropped the pen and stood up. His chest felt heavy. "Why am I like this?" he whispered. He stepped out into the hallway and found Mama Nena in the sitting room, arranging fresh flowers in a vase. "Do you have a minute?" he asked. She looked up, nodded, and followed him to the balcony. "I'm losing my mind," he said suddenly, voice low. "I know," she replied gently. Jason sat on the railing. His face was tired. "I feel things I shouldn't feel." Mama Nena didn't blink. "For Kamar?" He looked up at her sharply, then sighed. "Yes." There was silence. "She's not a little girl anymore, Jason. Mama Nena said she's a woman, and you didn't choose to love her. Love chose you." Jason held his head in his hands, but I raised her. "What would people say? What did God say when he placed her in your path?" She asked quietly. "The rain that night didn't bring you a stranger. It brought you your future." Jason stared out at the garden. At that very moment, Kamar was sitting with David again, showing him a sketch she drew. Her face lit up. She touched David's arm lightly and laughed. Jason's heart cracked. "I'm too late," he said under his breath. Mama Nena placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not if you speak now." Jason watched Kamar stand up, her wrapper tied around her waist, walking like the queen she was becoming. "She's not just a girl I saved," he said almost in a whisper. "She's the only person who makes me feel alive." And as the sun dipped behind the trees, Jason realized it wasn't just admiration. It was love, real, painful, and too strong to hide any longer. The night was cool. Kamar sat alone in the garden, her arms wrapped around her knees, a light shawl covering her shoulders. The sound of crickets filled the quiet. Jason watched her from the balcony, heart racing. He had tried to keep it in for too long, but the weight of silence had become too heavy. He stepped outside. Kamar turned when she heard footsteps. Her face lit up. "Uncle Jay," she said softly. "Can't sleep?" He smiled a little. "Neither can you." She shook her head. "Too much on my mind." He sat beside her on the garden bench. For a while, they didn't say anything. The stars blinked above them. Jason finally broke the silence. Kamar, there's something I've been needing to say for a long time. She turned to him slowly, confused. What is it? He looked into her eyes, those same eyes he had first seen under the rain. You were 5 when I met you. I brought you home because I couldn't leave you there to die. But I never knew that you would become the one person I can't live without. Kamar blinked. Uncle? No, he said gently, taking her hand. Not as a child, not as a daughter. As a woman, Kamar, I love you. I've tried to hide it, to bury it, to run from it, but I can't anymore. Her lips parted, but no words came. Her eyes filled with tears. I thought you saw me as your guardian, she whispered. I never imagined. Jason's voice shook. I do. I always will. But I also see you. And I want to love you openly if you'll let me. Tears ran down her cheeks. I loved you first, Jason, but I was afraid. I thought you'd never feel the same.
Dottie wiped her tears with his thumb, his hand trembling.
Then under the stars, the man who once saved a girl from the rain finally kissed the woman she had become. Slowly, gently, and with a love that had waited years to speak. The clouds were gray, and the wind was gentle. It was the kind of afternoon that whispered memories. Jason stood under the large mango tree in his garden, dressed in a white native CF tan. A small canopy of white cloth hung above him, decorated with fresh hibiscus flowers. No loud music, no photographers, no crowd, just a quiet wedding, just love. Mama Nena wiped her eyes from a corner, whispering a prayer of thanks. Kamar stepped out of the house barefoot, her dress soft and flowing. She paused and looked up at the sky, then walked slowly toward Jason. Each step reminded her of her journey, from the girl who had nothing to the woman who was now everything to someone. Jason's eyes never left her. When she reached him, he took her hand gently and whispered, You came with the rain, and now the rain is here again. Kamar smiled, tears already in her eyes. It's God reminding us how it all began. The officiant stood with a Bible in hand. His voice was calm, full of reverence. Do you, Jason Obadiah, take Kamar, once abandoned, now cherished, to be your wife, to love and protect, from this day till forever? I do, Jason said without blinking. And you, Kamar? Do you take Jason, the man who saw you under the rain, who became your shelter, to be your husband, your peace, your heart?
I do, she whispered, voice shaking with joy.
They exchanged rings, then vows. And as Jason kissed her softly, the rain poured a little heavier, but no one moved because the same rain that once brought her pain had now washed her into the arms of love. 5 years later, laughter filled the walls of the Obadiah home. Kamar walked through the living room carrying her youngest child, a baby girl with dimples just like Jason's. Her first son, Sidera, ran around the garden, giggling as Mama Nena chased him with a toy broom. Slow down, Prince! Mama Nena! Shouted, laughing. Jason stood by the door, arms folded, watching the life he once never imagined. His eyes followed Kamar, who kissed their baby on the forehead and laid her in the crib. His heart swelled with gratitude. You still stare at me like that? Kamar teased. Every day, Jason said, because you're still the most beautiful thing rain ever gave me. As they stood watching the sunset, their children playing nearby, Jason whispered, You were never a mistake. You were never abandoned. You were just on your way to me. And with that, the girl once thrown out in the rain became a queen in her own story. Asterisk, how did this story make you feel? Did you smile, cry, or see your own journey somewhere in these lines? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe, every storm brings a blessing. Hit that subscribe and share this with someone who needs hope today.